You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Old habits die hard. A leopard never changes its spots. I work in change management, and I see how hard it can be for people to believe they can truly change. But a few months ago, at the Waikiki Aquarium, I met a creature that challenged that idea. I snapped a picture of this shark. I asked the volunteer what kind it was. Zebra shark, he said. Living in landlocked Nebraska, my shark knowledge comes mostly from watching Shark Week. But this shark didn't look anything like a zebra. If anything, it looked more like a leopard. Turns out, zebra sharks are born with stripes. But as they grow, those stripes fade into spots. A transformation so dramatic that scientists once thought they were two different species. This change helps them adapt to their surroundings. The stripes ward off predators as juveniles, and the spots help them blend into the ocean floor as adults. Unlike great white sharks, which must keep swimming from the moment they're born or else they'll die, zebra sharks rest. They spend their days on the ocean floor, preparing to hunt at night. This really got me thinking. What if organizations are more like sharks than we realize? Some organizations are like great whites, always moving, chasing the next opportunity. Others are like zebra sharks. They pause, reflect, and evolve. Both can be successful, but the real difference lies in the people. When employees are adaptive and ready for change, they thrive in either environment. As an industrial organizational psychologist, this is where my work begins, especially during change, helping leaders connect the dots between human behavior and organizational success. Because change isn't just a leadership instinct, it's a science. And when we ignore that science, we miss the chance to make change easier, more effective, and more human. Change is complex, shaped by many factors, but four stand out as especially critical for leaders who want to help their people navigate it well. Understanding what motivates people, involving them in the process, communicating clearly, and empowering them to take action. Let me start with a story that shows why understanding motivation matters. A forestry company in the Pacific Northwest was losing over $1 million a year due to theft. Employees were stealing tools, equipment, even heavy machinery. Management brought in a team of IO psychologists to interview employees to get to the heart of the issue. What they discovered changed the whole narrative. It wasn't about stealing to resell things for financial gain. It was about the fun. Employees were treating theft like a game. Who could sneak out the biggest item without getting caught? Who could partner up with a coworker to pull off the ultimate heist for bragging rights? Some even joked about running out of garage space, and their spouses were running out of patience. Once the company understood the real motivation, they changed their approach by creating a system modeled after a public library, where any employee could check out a piece of equipment and offered amnesty days to return items, no questions asked. They took the fun right out of it, and theft dropped to nearly zero. Here's the takeaway. If you want people to change, you have to understand why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. Otherwise, you might be solving the wrong problem. Psychologists call this attribution theory, the idea that we're constantly trying to explain people's behavior, but we often get it wrong. We assume it's about character, when really it's about context. In this case, theft wasn't about dishonesty. It was about culture, boredom, and creating a sense of belonging on the team. And once they understood that, they could fix the problem. So before jumping to conclusions, ask, what might be driving this behavior? A quick pulse survey or informal interviews can reveal motivations leaders might never expect. Once we understand what's behind a behavior, the next step is to involve people in the process. Because when people help shape a change, they're far more likely to support it. Have you ever built something from IKEA? That moment you finish feeling oddly proud and then notice you have a handful of leftover pieces and no idea where they're supposed to go? Psychologists call this the IKEA effect. I call it why I still have that wobbly bookshelf I built in 2012. We tend to value things more when we've put effort into creating them. In one study, people who built their own IKEA boxes rated them as more valuable than those who received them pre-assembled. The act of building created a sense of pride and ownership. The same thing happens in organizations. When people are involved in shaping a change, even just a little bit, they're far more likely to feel ownership and pride, even if it's imperfect. But here's the tension. That same sense of ownership can make it harder to let go of the old. People don't resist change because the new way is worse. They resist because the old way is familiar. It's theirs. They helped build it. Think about a time you resisted change, not because it was bad, but because it wasn't yours. That's why it's so important to involve people early, not just to build buy-in, but to help them transfer their sense of ownership from the past towards the future they're helping to shape. Even small involvement matters. Let employees vote on a name, shape a workflow, or test a prototype. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be theirs. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I can't involve everyone in every decision. We would never get anything done. And that's fair. This is where communication becomes essential. It's how we make sure people feel seen and heard, even when the path forward is already set. In a study, participants were split into 3 groups. The first group got to share their opinion before a decision was made. They had both influence and voice. The second group shared after the decision was made. They had voice, but no influence. The third group had neither. They were just informed of the decision. Not surprisingly, the first group had the most buy-in. But what was interesting is the second group. Even though they knew their input wouldn't change anything, just having the chance to speak and be heard made them more helpful and more likely to go along with the decision. Why? Because being heard matters. Even when it doesn't change the outcome, it changes how we feel. And when people feel heard, they feel respected, and they give more. But here's the catch. Leaders often think they're doing a good job of listening and communicating. They believe they're being clear, transparent, and open. But research tells a different story. In a study, people were asked to give a speech and rate how obvious their anxiety was to the audience. They thought their nerves were on full display, but the audience, they barely noticed. This is called the illusion of transparency, and it shows up in organizations too. Leaders think they've communicated clearly, but employees feel confused or left out. Don't assume your message landed. Follow up with a Q&A, a listening session, or even a quick check-in, just to make sure people feel heard, not just informed. And here's one more layer where research can help us. In a different study, people were shown made-up words like zorp and wug. Some words were shown once, others multiple times. The more people saw a word, the more they liked it, even though the words had no meaning. This is the mere exposure effect. The more familiar something feels, the safer it seems. And in change, that matters. Repetition builds comfort, so if you want people to embrace something new, don't just say it once. Let them hear it, see it, and try it, again and again. But how do you get someone to try something new for the very first time. Fear of change is real, and a key factor in why people resist it. Like any fear, telling someone to get over it doesn't work. But psychology offers tools to help, starting with belief. Belief is the foundation of real change. Psychologist Albert Bandura once studied people with a deep phobia of snakes. Almost as scary as change, right? He didn't just ask them to face their fears, but broke it down into steps, from simply looking at a picture of a snake to eventually holding one. Turns out, belief builds in layers. Calm environments made people more willing to try. Encouragement, even with just a few words, boosted confidence. Watching someone else succeed, especially someone they could relate to, made the goal feel possible. And when they finally tried it themselves, even in a small way, belief took root. It's no different in the workplace. Leaders can't just give directions, they need to build belief. It's what helps people take the first step. Leaders can build belief by creating safe spaces to experiment. Try pilot programs, shadowing opportunities, or low-risk trials to help people ease into change. And just like with Zorp and WUG, belief grows with familiarity. Repeating the message, reinforcing the vision, and checking in regularly. It's not overkill, it's how belief grows. Change is hard. It's personal, it's messy, and it doesn't happen just because somebody sends an email or launches a new system. But organizations can lead with empathy and make change easier by understanding people, involving them in the process, communicating openly, and by helping them believe they can do it. Leaders can turn resistance into resilience. And when we do that, we don't just make change easier, we make work better. We spend more of our waking hours with coworkers than with our own families. If we can make those hours more meaningful, more human, we're not just improving performance, we're improving lives. Because change isn't about systems and strategies, it's about people. And people don't change when they're told to. They change when they believe they can. And maybe that's what the zebra shark can teach us. The shark transforms slowly over time to better adapt and thrive in its environment. It doesn't rush. It isn't forced. It rests and adapts and becomes something new when the timing is right. So maybe we don't need to run our organizations like we're a pod of great white sharks. Let's pause, reflect, and evolve like zebra sharks, and lead change in a way that helps people believe in what's next.